All right, welcome to I Think You Think, episode 28, 2.0. We're trying this again. We had some sort of technical difficulties, so we're sort of sorry about that. Some of our silly jokes probably won't be quite as good this time around because we already sort of know they're coming. Because this is all completely scripted and we never work off. We never
Folks.
go off script, huh?
I thought it was time for me to say howdy, folks. Sorry.
It was actually. That's in the script. It says you're supposed to try to interrupt me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. There you go. Anyway, technical difficulties. We're like a half hour into the show and realized problems. So we will start again and kind of see where it goes. Yeah, there you go. Whatever. Anywho, here we go. Today is June 21st, 2013, and you're listening to I Think You Think, a podcast that puts a new spin on debate and discussion. I'm Justin, and on the other side of my computer screen is James.
Howdy, folks.
And we are your hosts and carry no credentials worth noting. I Think You Think is a podcast that focuses on what we, your hosts, think, but also what you think. Too many times we spend debates and discussions talking past one another, not enough time trying to learn and understand why someone thinks what they think. And this is what makes I Think You Think different, because we are focused on why people think the way that they do and why we think the way that we do. James and I believe in the form of ideas should be open to everyone, and everyone should have the opportunity to challenge and be challenged by ideas. We are not here to pass judgment, but merely discuss ideas and topics. This podcast, first and foremost, is a conversation between us and hopefully you. Feel free to email us. You can follow us on Facebook or on our Twitter or at the Chicago Now Blogs. The links for all of these can be found in the underbar of the video and also on our Facebook page, facebook.com/ithink.youthink. I Think You Think is produced by StolenArts Productions and is recorded live at Fisher International Studios. Okay, there we are. So we've gone through that again. So we've got a couple of short little topic-y things that we wanted to kind of hit on that we went back to last show, not the one we did not record just a few moments ago, but the one last week, regarding the Xbox One 80. Yeah, it was funnier the first time around. Anyway, I did not coin that Xbox 180. That was something I found online. The Xbox One, Microsoft did a 180. That's the joke. Whatever. This isn't even going to be that great anymore. Anyway, Microsoft made a big jump around because, and then this is where we insert the joke that, because Microsoft was watching our show and was like, hey, those guys got it together and stuff, and
blah blah blah. But anyways, digital licensing.
Xbox One changed their position on the digital licensing. Basically, the way everything is going to work is the way it works right now with the Xbox 360. The games do not install to the hard drive unless you want to install them, but that's just for speeding up, your load times and things like that. Has nothing to do with being able to access the game on the cloud, which is the Xbox One's big thing that they were going to be able to do. Is you could access all of your games on the cloud. You can't do that now. They are going back to the, you have a disc, you put it in the thing. If you want to play it at your friend's house, you take the disc over to your friend's house and play it. It also means you can sell the games, you can trade the games, you can give them away, you can throw them away, other people can find them, play the game, and it doesn't do anything. In general, I feel like I had gotten used to the idea of the digital licensing. I didn't think that it was that big a deal. I understand why people were frustrated about it, and I think that Microsoft probably made a good decision and a good move in terms of what they did. I had heard a report, and I don't have a source for this, that the PlayStation 4 was outselling in pre-orders almost twice, 2-to-1 on the Xbox One. That doesn't necessarily mean that was entirely because of the digital licensing, but I'm sure that had something to do with it, assuming that statistic is correct. Either way, I think it was a smart move for them. However, it doesn't really matter because it's all heading in this direction anyway. Even if this generation doesn't have it, I'm sure the next generation of consoles will have it on both sides of the aisle.
And you also said that in the previous recording of this exact podcast that they took away that has to be linked up to the internet once every 24 hours to work, which is another thing that's probably going to draw more people to the Xbox, or at least make some people that might have stayed away more likely. I think overall, business-wise, it's a good move by them. If it takes away from some of the progress they were going to push towards, then it's definitely a double-edged sword. But like we discussed a little bit, if they can make it so if you buy the game digitally, that you still have that cloud access, but if you buy the hard copy, you don't, then it kind of gives you the best of both worlds, and both sides of the fence can sort of, choose. You can choose which side of the fence you want to be on. You know what I mean? Do I want to buy Borderlands 3 digitally so I can go over to my brother's house and play it? But when I buy game blah, 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 I'm going to wait till it's used and get it at a cheaper price on disc because it's not a game that I feel like I'm going to play as much. I get to make that choice now. And that could be good as long as both are available. You know what I mean? But We'll have to wait and see. It's obviously it's still, fluid if they're making changes at this stage. Sapping our time, Justin beat Skyrim, but he's been playing State of Decay, which he really enjoys. We'll review later. He says it's worth 1,600 Microsoft points, which is $20. And he's been playing a little bit of Walking Dead, which is very stressful.
Yes.
Just like the TV series, as it should be, and very enjoyable. And they're coming out with a new chapter soon. We've both been really busy with work. He moved to a new store. I'm going to be moving to a new store. My store is closing. I continue to read a series of 30 books that I have been reading, and I enjoy them greatly, and have not turned on my Xbox or PS3 in quite a while.
So that's, what took us last time about 15, 20 minutes took us about 7 minutes this time.
It's
so
true.
You guys missed out on all the jokes, which weren't really that good anyway, so there you go.
No, don't lie. They were hilarious, and you guys will never hear them.
Yep.
I'm sorry
for
that.
It sucks, that's technology for you.
It was great for us, though. It was awesome.
If you had been here in our chat, you would have seen them. So
it's true.
More of an incentive for you to be in our chat.
Because you never know when we're going to have technical difficulties.
Yeah,
and be hilarious simultaneously.
That's true. Anyway, so we're just going to dive into the main topic, which was we were talking about the NSA and Prism, the group. I guess it's the organization or something that's keeping all of the metadata regarding phone calls and the monitoring of that sort of metadata. Now,
and emails and things like that as well.
Okay. I didn't know that it was keeping emails and stuff. I was going to ask you about that when you were doing your thing.
Oh, yeah.
But there you go. Anyway, if you just crawled out from under a rock and you didn't know anything about any of the stuff going on with the National Security Administration and their collecting of metadata, basically what metadata is, at least in regards to phone calls, is it keeps track of your phone number, obviously, the number you're calling, when you called them, and how long the conversation was. It's the same sort of stuff. Most people don't get them anymore because most companies charge extra to have it, but there's a detailed billing you can get on cell phone services in which it breaks down basically all of this. It tells you who you called, when you called them, and how long the phone call was for. Most companies, they used to offer it for free, and you actually had to opt out of getting it. Now they actually charge you a fee in order to have it because, it's 1,800 pages that you get in the mail, and, that's a lot of trees, a couple of small forests they have to cut down for, a few of the customers. Either way, that's basically what the metadata is in regards to the phone calls, not specifically cell phone calls, just phone calls in general from landlines, whatever, because it's through all sorts of phone carriers. James, you were saying something regarding metadata on emails.
Yeah, well, they have, from what I read, they have access to, supposedly Google and Facebook and like a lot of internet activity is a lot what Prism is more about. Um, so that, I mean, that adds a whole nother level. But like I was talking about the first time we almost recorded this, you know, you live in a world. We live in a world now where that stuff is just right there. You know what I mean? If you are afraid of that kind of stuff, then get rid of your smartphone, close out your Facebook, get rid of your email. But good luck interacting with the modern world. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're at a point now where if people like if you're looking especially to find larger scoping things like terrorist activities, this is one of those places where they need to go to find it. You're crippling those groups by not having it. Do they do it right? Do the right people have it? Are the laws monitored enough? Are the actions of the people that have this power monitored properly? I don't know the answers to any of those questions, but the fact of the matter is that, like, technology and society have gotten to a point where there needs to be something along these lines. I don't know if what we have is right. I don't have those answers. You know, it seems like some of the stuff you read, it seems like it's pretty far-reaching. You know, the access they have now, because they don't need to get warrants to do this stuff. You know, all they need is a personal, reasonable suspicion that one or more of the people are out of the country, and then they can sort of monitor. And this is, I'm not an expert on this at all. No credentials, as they say. But if so, and you know, they believe that there's some reasonable suspicion, then they can sort of dig deeper, you know. But if they're able to collect this information, you know what I mean, over time, and then the wrong person has access to that, you know, what can they do with it? You know what I mean? Like if someone had access to all of the digital fingerprints you've put out there, Justin, you know, what would they know about you? You know what I mean? Like for me, personally, they would know that I shop on Amazon more often than any other online place. They'd know that I go to this one Starbucks most of the time, and every now and again I go to another one. I normally shop at one Jewel, but there's a Target and a Jewel that I also go to. You know what I mean? They know, you know, where I work, how often I work, you know, what kind of schedule I usually keep when I work, you know, where I go, how often I go there. You know, just like if someone just had your GPS tracking, you know, they could learn so much about you. So there's a lot of information out there that I could see why it would make people uncomfortable for someone to have that. But at the same time, someone needs to be able to have those things when it is a bad guy that you're tracking. You know what I mean? You and I are just kind of normal people, you know? We work our jobs, we live our lives, we're not out there hurting anybody, doing any crimes. You know, we're just living our life. You know what I mean? But we all know that there are people out there that aren't just living, you know what I mean? That aren't just... So, you know... And anytime you have a law that can insinuate itself within someone's privacy, it's a double-edged sword, you know? But, yeah, I don't really know. I don't have a solid answer.
Well, there's a lot of things. There's a few things that I don't like about what it is, and let me, without kind of going off on a tangent, let me kind of break it down. First of all, the Constitution, and I think it's the Fifth Amendment, and you know I'm probably wrong because I'm horrible at remembering these types of things. That's what Google is for. It talks about illegal searches and seizures, that you have to have a warrant in order, you know, police cannot just show up at your door and say, hey, I'd like to walk around your house and check to see if you're doing anything illegal. You know, they have to have probable cause to come and go into your house, and they don't have to have probable cause to go into your house. They have to have a warrant to come into your house. Right. They have to have probable cause to get the warrant to come into your house. They can't just show up. Now, if you invite them in, it's a different kind of scenario. But,
or there's some sort of like immediate, like
right,
obvious
if the
thing,
house is on fire, or like
they hear a gunshot or someone yelling for help or
right.
any number of things, right?
Right. And there are certain laws that kind of govern to protect that type of situation. But in general, the police show up, and this is my personal decision, and it's not that I don't like the police. I appreciate what they do because I could never do something like that, and I appreciate that they do it. But when they come to my door, which has happened maybe twice in the last year, either they're just doing like routine walking through the neighborhood, introducing themselves, because here where I live in the city that I live, they have police in the community thing where they actually introduce themselves. They say, "Hey, I'm the police officer who actually lives right down the street from you guys. We live in the community. You know, we're here. You know, that type of thing. Just not like a Orwellian sort of we're here watching you, but like a, hey, if you ever need anything, we are here. You know, to help protect you guys. That's what our job is." But I treat them the same way I treat door-to-door solicitors. I mean, I don't leave my door open. I will step out onto the porch to talk to them. They're not invited inside my home. You know, those type of things, because it's not that I don't trust the police. There is a potential that police are human beings just like everybody else, and every single group of people has people who are good people doing what they're doing, and there are people who are less scrupulous people or unscrupulous or bad people doing what they're doing, and so I'm not interested in getting in, and so I have to treat them all the same.
Well, they're still strangers at that point, no matter what their job is. Right, a stranger.
Yes, same thing. I haven't been pulled over by a police officer in more than a decade, so I don't know if I would do this, but I'd like to believe that if I did get pulled over, I would treat it in the same regard. You know, not really answering specific questions, more just kind of addressing sort of, you know, okay, well, why are you pulling? You know, why am I being detained? Are you writing me a ticket? Am I free to go? You know, and not answering any other specific questions. Where are you going? You don't have to answer questions like that. Right. But either, you know, you don't even have to roll down your window all the way. I mean, you can roll down the window as far as you feel comfortable rolling down the window, provided you can still communicate with them. And they'll tell you that you have to, and you don't have to. I mean, just again, I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I'm not telling you guys you shouldn't do this. I'm just telling you to just at least know. Either way, back to the NSA thing. My thoughts on is this. I have a problem with the government collecting it. I don't have a problem with private organizations collecting it. If Verizon wants to collect that information and have a storage area where they have to keep it, I don't even have a problem with the government mandating that they have to keep the last 10 years worth of records of phone calls in some database that's there if the government then goes and gets a warrant to access that database to get information. That's fine. The problem I have is the government being the one who actually collects that information, who has access to that information.
Like unfettered access is what they're being accused of. Exactly.
And even if they say, oh, well, it's not unfettered, nobody even looks at it, I completely in general, I agree with them. That's probably the truth. I mean, the massive amount of data that they have falling through coming into their I'm going to get this word wrong, but I think they were saying that they were building a building that had like something like teraflops of like data storage.
I think it's actually bigger. I don't remember the word, but it was something that was.
It was a word that, like, you know, you didn't. It's lots and lots and lots of terabytes worth of, you know, data, like space to keep data.
Right.
And I believe that there's not some guy sitting there watching everything that goes through. I mean, we're talking that would take hundreds of years or thousands or even more to look at every single one of them. But them having it and having access to it, I have a problem with. Again, I don't have a problem with a private organization, not because I believe that a private organization is not going to have unscrupulous people in it, but the private organization, it is beneficial to them to maintain the privacy of their consumers, the people who buy their stuff. They are going to go out of their way to make sure that the government has to have its ducks in the row before it has any access to this system, because it lowers the consumers' thoughts about the company. I can't think of the word I want.
Their general opinion.
Yeah.
If AT&T is found to have utilized that information incorrectly, Verizon's going to get a huge spike in customers, and Sprint and T-Mobile, everyone would leave,
Right.
you know. But if it's across the board, then, you know, where do you go? You know.
Right.
But, you know, I think a lot of it, I mean, okay, like if a police officer is, you know, driving through traffic, doing his normal routine on the road, you know, he's paying attention, he's looking for signs. Unless you have somebody that's paying attention to the flow of digital information to some degree, then that is completely unpoliced. Like I said, I don't have the answer. I don't know if they're doing it right. I'm not sure if this is the way it needs to be done, but at some point in time, someone needs to be able to look at that flow of information to some degree to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I think I know what you're saying. I'm not sure the metaphor works quite the same, but I can at least see the what you're trying to say. And I don't even, you know, I'm with you. I don't know what the right answer would be. I just, it just, it might be because what you do online, there's a difference between me sitting at home doing something online and the expectation of privacy versus me walking around or driving around in public. And the expectation of privacy within that, you know, the two different kind of variations in terms of what my expectations of privacy are.
but there's such a vibrant world on the internet, you know, communication-wise. You know what I mean? Like, how long does it take you to spit out all the ways people can contact us? And that's just the I think you think contacts. Like, if we were to put my phone has 3 different emails that come to it. You know, plus text, plus Facebook messaging, you know. And like my news sources, I have a couple of different things as far as incoming information that I specifically want to garner that isn't actually interaction between people, not to mention the intermittent phone calls that my phone still gets. I mean, it's the least of what my phone does, but technically that happens too. You know, like, why is this thing making noise? Oh, somebody's calling me. But, you know, I mean, there's so much going on, and especially when you focus on the communication aspect of it, and you're talking about criminal activity, you know, I mean, it's like, again, I will say it again. I don't know if what they have right now is right. I'm not sure that it is because I don't think the oversight is really there for it.
Right.
And I get the impression that what seems to be out there is, you know, unfettered access to this information if they want it. But like you said earlier, to really like hone in on you or me or any other random individual, something would have to be a trigger to make them even take the time to do that. I mean, how many smartphones are there in America alone? I don't know the answer, but it's got to be a very, very, very large number.
I remember hearing a statistic, something like last year there was 100 million smartphone sales.
So I mean,
sounds
whatever
reasonable for however we got over 300 million.
So even that would just mean 1/3 if that was all of the ones that had it, and it's probably not. There's no way. You know what I mean? It even 2/3, whatever. Even if it's half, that's
I would say
over
that
150 million.
Yeah, if you don't even factor in smartphones, I would say 70-80% of the random people you meet on the street must have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a smartphone, but I'm sure that they have some sort of a cell phone with GPS chips in them. So,
sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you, atheist.
I was blessing you for the evil spirits that you sneezed out of your body to make sure that they didn't come back.
So now you're like a Wiccan?
Yeah, whatever. That's the original thing about sneezing.
No, okay. But
now the NSA knows.
Oh man.
You got a virus.
Uh-oh. In my computer?
That's probably why the last broadcast wasn't recorded.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's it's a weird situation. But I mean, all the information that the smartphone gathers and brings in and puts out, I mean, it does create a great convenience. You know what I mean? Like all the information I gather on a fairly regular basis out of my phone, like what new movies have come out on Blu-ray, movie times, when I'm going to go see a movie, the weather, the timing for sports programs, if I missed the game yesterday, what was the score, who won? Just general news I get from my Pulse app, you know what I mean? Whether it's technology, sports, humor, whatever, my email, my texting, it's all right there. Plus the GPS helps me, get from place to place sometimes, like my phone will pop up and say 11 minutes to work. Like, stop telling me about my work. It's my day off. I'm not going there. I don't need to know how long it's going to take me. But all that does come with the price of that information is there and it's digital, So are we going to go back? Are we going to let that go? No.
I don't know, but I mean, to a certain extent, you're choosing to give up that aspect of your privacy. I was going to say privacy, the British way. Privacy.
Blimey.
You are making a decision that's what you're now. I agree that if you want to live off the grid, if you don't want to be on Facebook, you don't want to be on the internet, you don't want to own a smartphone, you want to only own burner phones and things like that, and basically not have something tied to your name or anything like that, it would make life extremely difficult in the current age that we live in. I mean, good luck getting a job if you're not on the internet. I mean,
right.
The last 2-3 jobs, and I've been at my job for 7 years almost, and I mean the last 2 or 3 jobs I did online applications for them. So
yeah, and all of ours for my company, it's all gone.
Yeah, there is online. We don't have paper applications at my company. I mean, people come in and ask for them all the time, and I'm like, we don't got them. I mean, you go online.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the people who ask for paper applications are not the younger people looking for jobs.
Yeah. But they got to take the time, go to the library or, someplace else that has, I mean, it's more difficult. It's way more time consuming to fill out online applications. You know what I mean? I was doing that before I got this job 4 years ago, and I filled out a ton of them. And like, there's so much information, and it's not something that's set up to be auto-filled. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it can take you a half an hour to fill out, and I'm not getting an entry-level position, so that's probably part of the reasons why it's more elaborate. But a lot of them, like for my company now, because we just got bought out, we're moving to a different franchise group, if you will. Like when you go to apply, you have to take a series of tests and things like that.
My company as well has assessment tests that basically rank you on the different kind of positions that we have within the company. And I'm talking about just at the store level. I'm not talking about corporate aspects. Just at the store level, the different departments that we have, it ranks you on those and say, hey, this person would be great as a cashier, or this person would be great to work in photo, or something like that.
Right.
Or this person would be a good pharmacy tech, type thing. And then we are actually as leadership, as the people who actually do the hiring, we are trained to, hey, you go with whoever is rated green in this area first. If you have people who are rated green, you ask them in for an interview first. If you've exhausted them and they're not people that didn't answer the questions, because we have a series of questions we're supposed to ask, and based on how they answer those questions, ranks them also. And if they're not ranked well enough, then we move on. We're way off topic. Let's get back to the NSA kind of thing. So yes, it's impossible in general to live in this day and age off the grid, offline, without kind of being on there.
And it's only going to get deeper and deeper into that. You know what I mean? So the more that's true, the more that area of the world is going to need some sort of monitoring. Like what is the right depth of that monitoring? who should have it, how should it be monitored, are all questions Cat visits every podcast. Are questions I don't have the answer to, but I mean, it's going to have to get to that point. There are things you can do if you want to try to have a significant amount more privacy. Get off Facebook, get off Twitter, get off all those things. You know what I mean? But
I was sorry to cut you off.
No, it's all right.
I was listening to a thing on NPR because I'm a liberal wiener, so I listen to NPR. Anyway, I was listening to an article on NPR in which there was somebody who was talking about this, and they were giving lists of email programs that you can use that encrypt all of your email. That there are certain search things you can use that aren't Google and that aren't Yahoo, that keep track of your searches and all that kind of thing. And they gave these, and they said, yeah, you'll have to get off Facebook, you'll have to stop using Twitter. At least here's a situation in which you can actually still stay online and try to keep your IP address blocked and things like that. But they did say, I mean, they admitted it's harder to do that. And, one of the things that I love about Google and why I use it constantly is my phone and Chrome and Google, they all communicate with each other. And so my phone knows a lot of times what I'm searching for. Like, right. I'm typing things out that it knows me well enough to know that the type of thing I'm typing out is not just, I'm not actually looking for a cheesecake recipe or something. I'm looking specifically for how to get a cheesecake recipe in a specific game, and it's already giving me that suggestion because it knows I play games a lot.
Right.
Because it knows based on the searches I've done in the past that I'm looking for a wiki for a certain kind of game, or I'm looking for, how to do this or how to do that. And I like that. I mean, that's one of when I use those things, I have to smile to myself because 20 years ago when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, here like 20 years ago, I was in my 20s.
I was 20 years ago today. I was 20.
Oh man, is it your birthday?
No. October.
Well, I mean, technically, yeah, you were. In your 20, you were 20. So anyway, regardless, I was like, I didn't think it was your birthday. Facebook didn't tell me.
How else would you know?
I know, right? I don't keep track of that stuff. But anyway, we are living in the future. I mean, I can talk to my phone and it will find things for me.
Yeah.
And it will even sometimes answer me back. I was looking up the calories for something, and I asked it. I said, what's the calories of a McDonald's ice cream cone? And my phone answered me, and it said, the results below show 150 calories, or whatever it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
By the way, McDonald's ice cream cones, low calories, nice little snack to eat in the middle of the day.
I will keep that in mind. But, I mean, there is that awesome convenience that comes with, modern technology. I love, one of the main reason that I love Facebook is that I can become friends with you, okay, mm-hmm. on Facebook. Obviously we interact on a weekly basis, so it's an issue. But if we didn't, and you happen to move and I didn't know, or I happen to move and you didn't know, so my address has changed, and then like I get a new cell phone and I have a new cell phone number. Before, we would be lost.
Yeah.
We'd
probably
never
ever see each other again.
Right. But now all that would have to happen in that situation is for you to send me a Facebook message. Be like, oh, I moved to Phoenix. Like, it's been so long. How have you been? You know what I mean? As opposed to being lost and gone forever. So I have that. It's for me, it's like my storehouse of friends. You know what I mean? Like, I will never have to lose contact with them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I can always send them a message, You know, and I just, because that doesn't change unless somebody leaves Facebook, you know, which is, you know, it happens. I don't understand how people do it. Some people like leave Facebook. Just don't go on, like, don't go on for a while. Like, I don't know why you'd have to leave Facebook. Like, is
Yeah,
it that
I
bad?
don't
Is
get
it
that
like
either. I've
crack? Like you can't leave it alone?
Well, I mean, like I was thinking, like, are you leaving because somebody has pissed you off or a group of people? I mean, it's really easy to unfriend people
Or hide them
or
or
hide them from your news feed. I mean, I've done that with people that I've been close with for most of my life, and
yeah.
I've had to hide them from my news feed because I'm really not interested in the stuff that they have to post.
Oh
Some
yeah.
of them are from like old school friends. Some of them are from college. You know, people I got along with very well, but I'm not interested. And I assume that there are people who have hidden what I've posted.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not me though. That's ridiculous. I don't know why. No, but I mean, there are many easy ways. You know, uninstall it from your smartphone. You know, log out so it's not there. So only when you go on your computer. But that's a whole nother thing. You know, I mean, for me, I wouldn't give up the convenience that I have from all this stuff. I'm really not too worried overall. I mean, what am I doing? I'm not. I mean, I'm podcasting. I'm working. I'm reading. I'm watching TV. I'm playing video games. You know, I'm not. I'm not a terrorist. I'm not a criminal. But it gets down to my general thought of all things government. It's like it's not how much power or access they have. It's who has that power and access. You know
okay.
what I mean? And that's where it can get hinky for me. You know, like, yes, does the internet need to be monitored in a comprehensive way? Yes, it does. Do the right people have it? Are the laws structured correctly? Is it like is there some sort of oversight to help make sure that it happens properly? I don't know.
It's tough because the internet is such a it when the framers of the Constitution talked about freedom of speech, they could have never had foreseen the internet ever.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
there's no concept that if there's no way.
Yeah,
Eh,
there's no reference back then that could even bring
No,
them.
no idea. I mean, the closest thing would have been a newspaper, and it doesn't even compare. I mean, not really.
No.
Not with. I mean, they had movable type was the newest technology. It's like, oh my god, we can print the same page like 100 times, and it's done in like an hour. You know,
Oh
I
my
mean, like
God, science!
yeah, I know, right? We're living in the future, which is what I was saying. But anyway, I mean, so they have no frame of reference for something like that. But the internet it's really become a billboard for freedom of speech. And so it's as a huge proponent of freedom of speech, and this show, in fact, is to a certain extent it's that idea of yours and I's,
Hours.
our idea that everyone should have access to that freedom that we,
Right.
you know, regardless of what you have to say, even if it's batshit crazy. Here, at least on I Think You Think, we are willing to give you that opportunity to say you're batshit crazy or not batshit crazy or my idea is batshit crazy. It's just that's nice. He's nodding his head. You can't see it anymore because of the way I've edited everything. But anyway, either way, that's the way it is. And so there are laws in place that prevent people who are standing on a street corner practicing freedom of speech. There are laws in place that do limit freedom of speech, not necessarily always the street corner, but as a perfect example for when people are talking about putting limitations on rights, you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. And if you try to claim freedom of speech on something like that, you will be smacked down so hard by any judicial judge across the country because you are inciting a panic. And
Right.
that's a perfect example of our rights. That there are rights that are constitutional rights that can be limited.
You can, by the way, yell fire in a theater if there is actually a fire.
Right. Obviously, obviously. Oh God,
Like I was going to say something, but I heard on this podcast that I couldn't.
I can't. Yeah. If there is no fire, yes. God. Now we're laughing about fires in theaters. This is going well.
No, we're not. We are not laughing about fires in theaters. We're laughing about other things. Anyways.
Either way, how we go about... I guess that's the question that we kind of have to go into. That's kind of the area that we have to examine. 10 years from now, maybe we'll have settled it. Maybe we will have... it's not unlike like the gun debate in terms of what kind of limitations can we put on the right to keep and bear arms. That's the conversation we've been having since Sandy Hook last November,
October, I think.
Was it that far back, and then we just didn't talk about it until?
Maybe, I don't know. It was last year though.
It was like
last year.
It was basically right before the show started, right before it kicked off. Sometime around there. But either way, I mean, 10 years from now, maybe we'll have settled it enough that it's, the way we look at yelling fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire. You can't do it type thing. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult because so much human and social interaction happens on the internet now. And if you're looking to track down the bad guys, it's a place to look. But it's, like...
Yeah, I mean...
It brings to mind that fear that some of the, like, paranoid future books, like science fiction that sort of gives that sort of, like, oppressive future government in a technological time kind of lay out, where you type on your Facebook status, something that's anti-government, and 15 minutes later they're knocking on your door and you disappear.
Right.
Like it brings to mind that kind of fear, that is this where we're headed? Is this where we are in 5 years, 10 years? You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, maybe these are the steps that lead towards something like that. I mean, the thing I keep thinking of is the concept that, going back to like the police coming up to your door, if the police are trying to find people who are doing illegal things, not even that they know, hey, in this neighborhood there's a drug dealer, but just in general trying to find drug dealers across the country, or trying in my neighborhood or whatever. The way I look at them monitoring and watching what's going on online, it almost feels like, and maybe this is a really bad metaphor, but it almost feels like them coming into your house, walking around, looking at things, looking at what you're doing, watching you do it, to try to determine if you're one of... I mean, you keep saying we're not a bad person, we're not a terrorist, we aren't these things, and to a certain extent, we need to have something in place so that the government or law enforcement agencies have access to this information should they be looking for a terrorist or a criminal or something like that. But likewise, if they were looking for criminals, them having access to my house wouldn't be beneficial to them in finding a criminal. But having them have access to everybody's house, including mine, would be beneficial to them being able to find criminals. But I mean, it's almost like saying they wouldn't find anything here, so I really don't care if they walk through my house. But at the same time, it just seems like a gross... I don't know. Again, it might not be a perfect analogy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no easy cut and dry answer to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, the police and government need to find the bad guys. But like I think that was the first recording, but maybe it was this one. You know, like every profession has its good and bad guys. You
Hmm.
know, a profession does not exclude one side or the other. You know what I mean? Whether it's like, you know, mercenaries that kill for money, there's probably some really, you know, good people in there that's their situation. That's the job they were able to get. It pays the bills, you know, for their kids, their family, whatever, you know. But, you know, being a paramedic or, you know, a police officer or a fireman or, you know, some other generally considered, you know, heroic line of work does not exclude, you know, bad people, you know. I mean, priests molest children, you know, cops take bribes and, you know, like steal drugs to sell them themselves. Not every cop, not every priest. No one thinks that. I definitely don't think that. But, you know, it only takes one to spoil the water. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And, you know, is the NSA all, you know, wonderful people who have the best of morals? Of course not. There's just it's impossible to do that. That's where oversight comes in, you know, and it's, you know, not necessarily completely transparent laws, but, you know, I would like some level of assurance that it's done properly. Again, you're right. Like it's going to take, you know, 10 years down the road, maybe we'll know more. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Maybe we'll be able to hammer it out a little better. Um, but we're
I
definitely not
agree
there.
with you. I would agree with you on transparency, though. I mean, the more transparent the laws, what the government does, I would think that that seems like the right step in the right direction. I don't have a lot of high hopes for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a hard place to be, and you know, part of the problem is the more transparency there is, there will be people that will stop it on general principle, will fight it on general principle, and not on merit. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like they will just fight it to fight it, you know, and I think that shit's dumb. People will just, you know, argue and try to prevent progress, you know, because they don't have a better answer. They don't have a solution. They just have a problem with the answer that's out there.
Right, right, and that kind of goes back to the um, there's a fallacy that we've talked about in the past, an argumental fallacy, which again the name I never can remember. I think it's something like all or nothing fallacy, that basically says if a solution doesn't solve all of the problems, then it's a bad solution and you shouldn't do anything. Whereas if you have a solution that even if we recognize that it doesn't solve all of the problems, but it might even be a step in the right direction. For example, the Boy Scouts of America thing, where they're accepting openly gay scouts, but they're not accepting openly gay leaders. Um, should you not accept because should you not be at least happy for the step in the right direction? I mean,
Right.
it's it at the very least it's probably a step in the right direction. I definitely see your point on that it's got to be monitored somehow. I still kind of feel that I think having private companies, but even so, I mean, it's like because I'm a socialist, so I feel kind of stuck between giving private companies, okay, now you have the bulk of this information, the government doesn't have access to it, and at the same time feeling like if you put the right people in place and you put the a good enough money behind it, you can get a good government program that runs well, that has the right kind of oversight, that in general does what it's supposed to do. I mean, there are good government programs out there that do a very good job, and in some cases do better, and in some cases do worse than private organizations. But at least with a government organization, we have a way to address grievances with that government. Whereas if a
Yeah.
private organization says, screw you, what are you going to do? Take your business elsewhere? That's really your only recourse. I mean, you could take them to court, but I mean, can you really,
Yeah.
honestly, can you really do that?
Who can afford afford the lawyer to battle Google.
Right, right. So yeah, I don't know. So
Yeah, I mean, I think what is becoming clear is that there's no easy answer. You know what I mean? I mean, like just even if you probably look past 5 years, the amount of progress that's happened in like social interaction, whether smartphones or literally from a tablet or your laptop, you know, it changes so rapidly. You know what I mean? And there's so much more access and so much more crossover. Like you were talking about Chrome, you know,
mhm.
like I have the same thing. I have it on my phone, I have it on my laptop, and I have it on my tablet. So when I start typing something in, if I say, I was on my tablet and I searched something in, that I was interested about, and then like I want to search it again, and I jump on my computer and I start typing it, it'll pop up right away. You know what I mean? Right away as one of the top things as soon as I start typing those letters in, because I had searched it before, and that's very convenient, and I really really like that. But there's a price to be paid for that convenience at some point. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. The answer is it's not easy, and everything progresses so quickly. Um, and as much as the laws and things like that might change over the next 10 years, the technology will change all the faster. Um, you know, and I was really looking to possibly purchase some jewelry.
Oh,
Would
were
you have
you?
any suggestions, Justin?
Yeah, I just ran this through Google to find out what it thought, and it thought that Strava Max was a great place to go purchase some jewelry. I don't know why I
Really?
figured that. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So here's Strava Max. This the young lady who makes the jewelry for this, also made all of our graphics, which she did a wonderful job on. And once again, here you are, Strava Max. Lots of beautiful jewelry. Very nice. Uh, the next holiday that's coming up is July 4th. There, I was looking for maybe some kind of, I
Hey,
just say summer jewelry.
I was just telling one of my younger male workers that you never buy flowers for an occasion, only buy flowers at random. Jewelry can fall into that as well. Doesn't have
There
to
you
be a
go.
holiday.
There you
Buy
go.
your jewelry at random. It means a lot more than, oh, I messed up jewelry.
So, oh wow, this has actually got some. Oh, I thought it had some other prices on there, but yeah. So I'm just kind of clicking around and seeing what kind of things. These are all earrings. My wife has some. But we hadn't done a break in the middle and talked about it, so I figured right at the end here we'd talk about it. They also have a Facebook page that you can go and become a fan. Oh, now you're going to see my stuff.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Close it
man.
out, quick.
Quick, quick. You see my friends' names.
Oh, no. Both of them.
Yeah, all three of them. So there you go. And that's it. So the young lady who made our graphics, the little graphics you see down in the lower right
Right
there.
there, yep.
Yep, there you go. That is the graphic. That is one of the graphics. You can also see it on our app, which you can purchase from
The
Amazon, right?
Amazon App Store.
And I'm sure as soon as things settle down for James, he will get
The Apple version.
the Apple version, the iOS app. So for those of our listeners out there, all 500 million or whatever that really listen to us, or the somewhere between 3 and 500 million, I'm sure,
Yeah.
somewhere in there, one direction or the other. They can get the Apple app as well. So I think we're going to kind of wrap up. We've solved enough problems today and dealt with technical issues and such like, and you guys missed out on lots of great jokes, but there's always next week.
It's true.
I don't know what we're talking about next week, but we'll talk about that later. If you guys want to get involved, please message us on Facebook, send us an email. You like our page, like the video, Get involved. Send us topic ideas. We have lots of topic ideas, but we like being able to do topics that you guys want to talk about, that you guys want to hear us talk about, that you guys would like to talk about. I mean, if you guys join in our chat, into our Hangout, it's very likely we would ask you on the day of the show if you'd like to be a guest that day. It does happen. It's happened in the past, and we are more than happy to have another voice on here. We like having other people to talk to. So that's the whole thing about the show. If you want to come on and tell us something crazy or tell us something awesome, that's cool too. So that's it. James, do you have anything you want to wrap up with?
No. I did such a great wrap up on the first one. I don't think I could repeat it. I mean, it was pretty epic. And I'm glad at least you were there to hear it. I mean, that was, whew, man. I think I'm going to use that as the end of my autobiography, what I said last time, because it was just so. I mean, I was self-motivated by it, and it was pretty amazing. So no, nothing to say except thanks again, everyone who's listening. And always enjoy doing the show, and we definitely want to hear from some people. So I think you think 2012@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Let us know what you think. Any ideas? Want to be a guest? Whatever it may be. Thanks again for listening.